Good evening. This is our live edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline. We only have Devin Shea here, and he told us we're live, so I assume that's so. So if you're watching us on Comcast 7 only in Bethel Park, and you don't see us or hear us right now, I'm not going to hear a reply. And then we have Verizon 32 from Nemacolin all the way to Cranberry, Wexford. We appreciate you watching throughout the city of Pittsburgh and every community around. No doubt we like it, and we have a lot of sports talk here for you. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. We got Chip, the Prophet Hayner, and Smokin' Jim Frazier. I want to thank everybody for liking our page. We hit a brand new high of 5,276 likes, so thank you for liking us. And thanks, Devin, for adjusting the camera on us. We appreciate that. And we start our opening segment with what's on your mind. And we're going to do that right now. Smokin' Jim Frazier, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green, you got the C. Levine. Hey, I want to thank Al Levine, the talking machine, Dave Cable, Devin Shea, and BPTV for giving us the opportunity to do what we do each and every Tuesday night. What's on my mind is actually the Pittsburgh Steelers draft a little bit. And I got a couple sleepers who I love. I got them ranked very, very high. I hope the Pittsburgh Steelers take a look at them. There's a young man out of the University of Maryland named Sean Davis. I'm projecting him to be a cornerback. A lot of people are projecting him to be a safety. 6'1", 201 pounds. He is the best hitting cornerback since Rod Woodson, and the hardest hitting cornerback since Ronnie Lott. He got 4.4 speed, great size. I hope the Pittsburgh Steelers consider him. I have a strong safety from the Southern Utah University, and he's the best strong safety I've seen since 2002-3 in the draft when Troy Polamalu came out. His name is Miles Killebrew, 6'2", 225 pounds, a real killer. No pun intended.
With that last name.
Yeah, and with a strong safety with that kind of size and a cornerback with that kind of size, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers would do well getting those guys. And I haven't seen them rated in any of the draft next top 2 rounds.
Really?
So that could be second and third round or third round steals. So, and that's what's on my mind. Killebrew.
If you knew baseball,
Carmen.
If you knew baseball, you wouldn't even be kidding about Killebrew.
Oh, I got you.
He was a great home run guy. Okay.
Yeah. Minneapolis.
Yeah, you have to find out someday about
Didn't
that.
he play for New York too?
No, he played for the Minnesota
You
Twins.
can't make
He
up
went down
stuff.
in the plane crash or something, right?
No, he did not. That was Thurman Munson. And he
Thurman Munson.
he played
for the
He
Yankees.
played for New York. I get them mixed up. The
And-
two
and
similar
wait,
I don't know how
last
you can
names.
get 'em mixed up. They're not even
and I
close.
just want to share a little something for you because
Go ahead.
It'll touch the trivia iceberg that I got tonight. But Thurman Munson was the very first New York Yankees captain that was voted captain of the team since Lou Gehrig.
Great bit of trivia there.
I like it.
He wants to know who Lou Gehrig is because he knows Babe Ruth was looking
Yeah,
over
he
us.
heard of ALS, right?
Yeah.
He did the ice bucket challenge, right?
No, he didn't want to get wet. Well, enough of that. Thanks, Smokin' Jim. We appreciate it, as you can tell. Chip Hayner, what's on your mind?
Thank you, Alan, and good evening, everybody. What's on my mind tonight, and I'm going to make this short and sweet because I think we've got a packed show this evening. We've got Steelers draft to talk about. I'm going to pick my friend Jim's brain regarding some potential people that the Steelers appear to be interested in. Everything really is going to depend on the draft as who falls to them, being at the 25th pick.
I want a white corner.
And
We got any?
We'll see. But, you're looking at the various things that are happening around sports and, just the ridiculousness of it all. You've got the ex-Cleveland Brown quarterback and ex-NFL football player and, previous Heisman Trophy winner, Johnny the Trainwreck Football, who's just continuing on his downward spiral, and I think he may have made it close to hitting bottom. I don't know how much lower you can go when Drew Rosenhaus fires you, but he's achieved that goal, so he has now been fired by 2 agents and the team that he signed with coming out of college. His career is headed in the right direction. So Johnny Football, keep it up. He just even announced today he's committed to playing in 2016. I don't know what he's committed to playing with, but it's anybody's guess.
Maybe he'll be in disguise.
Also, you think about, the people that are in the media, and, people that are in the media, and even though we're on public access TV, there's certain things that we won't say or can't say just because they're in poor taste. They could lead to censure or whatever there may be. But when you've got a job as a national analyst for a major network, you should be held to a different standard. And that leads me to Curt Schilling, former Major League player, World Series winning pitcher, star of the Red Sox, the Diamondbacks, pitched for the Philadelphia Phillies, and he sticks his foot in his mouth more than anybody else. Yesterday, I think he crossed the line, posting something on Facebook, which he immediately took down, but the damage was already done. It's out there, and it's about time that, teach these people a lesson to keep their personal opinions about things to themselves. If they want to espouse their feelings about things in private to close family and friends, that's one thing. But you can't use a social media or a national platform to espouse the hatred and stuff. It's time to make him go away. But the one thing I love about sports, there's always something to talk about. But that's what's on my mind.
It doesn't end. Chip, thank you there. I'm glad you didn't censor Smoking Jim Frazier.
No, Jim's...
He gets away with a bunch of stuff. That's why he's my
man. He's like the Teflon Don.
He doesn't know about that stuff. So.
It doesn't stick.
There you go. He got it now.
That's good.
What's on my mind, Chip, is I got invited to one of the best seats I've had in the house at the Pirate game. Devin, I don't think you can pull up on this, but I want to thank Andy Amrine of EV Hardware. He's known as Handy Andy on KDKA. He's been doing shows for years. We invited all the BPTV producers and their family to a box that a law firm has. I won't mention their names since I didn't meet them, but there were only about 15 of us up there. Dave Cable was there with his 2 sons and his wife, Nora. My daughter, Casey, made it. And a lot of the other producers, Elaine Volpe, Christine from the library, the 2 librarians made it and their families. So it was just awesome to be there. What we were is right past home plate, up at a nice level. Didn't have to worry about getting sunburned Smoking Jim because it was a beautiful day there. Hit like 81 degrees. And it was just a great atmosphere. Not only Andy set up all the great food, all the baseball food up there, but we got to see, we're just far enough away from home plate so you could see all the plays and the outfield all the way up there, and box 40 was just awesome there. Couldn't have had a better time, and it was awesome to see the Buccos getting all these players on base and then scoring runs. And then everybody's negative. We'll talk about it a little bit later because Chip and I were touching on it. They've changed their hitting style a little bit. They try to foul off the fastball and then get hits on the other type of things, and are on base a lot. The highest on-base percentages we both know. But one thing that's an impediment is they're leading the league in stranding men on base. Now, a lot of people get upset about it, so I have a stat for you. Out of all these, past so many games, they're actually scoring at like a 271 clip of bringing runners in. So if you're getting close to a 300 average in baseball, you can go in the Hall of Fame. People go to me, like I was explaining at the box to some of the people. In baseball, it's odd. You have success when you only succeed 3 out of 10 times, which means you fail 7 out of 10. That's why it's so against what Smoking Jim believes in football. Because if you failed 7 out of every 10 times carrying the football, you're off the team. And he's not on any football team, so think about it. But with baseball, to be hitting 271 on driving in runs if you do that through the year, we're going to win over 100 games.
We're going to win a lot more games than we lose.
Well, that's
fact.
part of what I wanted to bring out. So I had a great time, great food, great photo or two we took. So appreciate all the likes on some of the pages that my daughter Casey took a photo. Living the hashtag sweet life, she called it.
Yes, sir.
SUITE life. So people loved it. And it was just a great game. And then to win the game 9-3, see some fireworks on a home run. Sean Rodriguez.
Is that ball landed yet?
No. But what was amazing is he got up one pitch, gone.
I mean, it was
like a rocket.
The third deck of the rotunda.
And that was quite a shot. So we got to see a little firework or two there. And then at the end of the game, closed it out that way. And what amazed me, it wasn't a packed house. It was close. But people were leaving throughout the game. Now, I know it was a nice day, but you're here for a nice baseball game. That reminded me of one friend of mine. They started leaving after the 5th inning. And I'm like, how can you do that? But that's what happened. So it was a great day of baseball.
Last summer, my wife and I go to the games, and she doesn't like extra inning games. And it's a Saturday night. A Saturday night. The Pirates are playing the Cardinals just before the All-Star break. And what happens? Tugging on my arm to go, tugging on my arm, it gets to the bottom of the 12th. I go, after this inning, we'll go, and I was planning on staying. McCutcheon hits a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 12th. It was one of the greatest moments at PNC Park. The place went bananas. It was 12:30 at night. You got to see it through to the end if you're a true fan.
Yeah, and I've been a true fan my life, so we stayed till the end. And we even had a few leftovers, too, Smoking Jim. And the desserts were out of this world up there. For if you ever get a chance to go in a suite, take advantage of it. And the price was right, Smoking Jim. You can only guess.
Okay.
And that's what's on my mind.
Good job.
Thank you. We got lots of sports, and we start out with my favorite segments coming up right now. Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And I got to give credit where credit is due. I've been saying for the last several months that very proud of my friend, Coach Mike Tomlin. I'm proud of the coach and the scout that he's growing into and the leader that he's growing into. I really think he's beginning to come into his own. However,
what happened?
Coach Tomlin was the coach who stuck out his neck to draft Cortez Allen. I told Coach Tomlin then that I thought Cortez Allen had the writings to be an NFL bust. This is a guy who I felt that even when he became a Pittsburgh Steeler, I thought that Keenan Allen was the guy that should have got a long-term deal here. And Coach Tomlin and Kevin Colbert both emphasized that Keenan Allen did not want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. He wanted to go down south, and I reminded them that there was a player by the name of Mel Blount who did not get along with Bud Carson and wanted out of Pittsburgh in 1975, but they kept him around, and Mel Blount is still a resident of Pittsburgh even to this day. Washington County, made his home here in the city of Pittsburgh and love it, and I thought that Keenan Allen was the same way. What I seen with Cortez Allen was a guy who did not start high school football till his senior year, and he started at wide receiver, sat the bench for 2 years at Citadel, was all ready to go into the armed forces as a second lieutenant when the Pittsburgh Steelers gave him a call, to his surprise, I believe, and selected him in the NFL draft. And not only did they overpay him, but his money has been counting on the books for a while, and they finally cut ties with Cortez Allen. I don't believe anybody else will pick him up. So, Coach Tomlin, you're starting to do a good job, but you blew it with Cortez Allen. And that's Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac. I warned him.
Thanks,
and
Jim.
and to speak to the point, one thing I've always thought about Mike Tomlin is that when he makes a mistake, he's going to be the last person in the world to admit it. He finally did, and I commend him for that because it was time to cut bait.
Did he admit that mistake?
Well, you
No,
cut him,
exactly.
didn't he?
Oh,
They released
okay.
To me, that's an admitted mistake right there. You know, they got money on the books with him. They're ready to eat it. Now, that's speaking volumes to me.
Okay.
Yeah. And Smoking Jim, we have to put a disclaimer on your quotes about Mike Tomlin. And it's not in a mean spirit that I do this, but a D-plus draft, going back as long as I know you, for
1974.
4.5 years. No, but no, he wasn't talking that much then. He was just running the football. But to have a D-plus draft and your head coach, even though he's still one of the youngest guys, is involved in it pretty thoroughly, like you've described each time. And you talked about his lack of skills and wasn't ready for the head coach, let alone picking players. So I find it ironic at this late date that you're doing it. So that's my little disclaimer for people that are new to our show, because anybody that's watched it for a while knows Smoking Jim's a lucky man to even go on the War Room on draft day. So we'll cover that later on. But I appreciate your insights. And your Cortez Allen thing, it was a swan song that was coming up for a while.
Next week, I'm going to eat like I'm in the suite.
We know that. Definitely Smoking Jim. All right, now we got Chip's trivia time. What do you have, Chip?
I got a little bit of everything. I got some hockey trivia. Thank you to the man behind the scenes, Devin Shea, provided me with some good fodder for the NHL playoffs. But we'll get to that. But the first thing I want to make note of, April the 18th, 1950. On April the 18th, 1950, none other than Vin Scully broadcast his very first Dodgers game. And he is now in his 65th or 66th year, maybe 67th year.
67th year, actually.
Of broadcasting Dodgers
Sandy
games.
Koufax hugging.
He has been broadcasting Dodger games 10 years longer than I have been alive. And they got to give him recognition for that. You know, he's a true icon to have maintained his standing, and
His
God, God bless him. And I wish him well, not the Dodgers. So that's enough being said. Also, to get to my baseball trivia, there's going to be a lot of firsts that I'm going to go over here, and that happened many years ago. Some not so freaking. 1969, April 14th, the very first Major League Baseball game played outside of the United States was played in Montreal's Jerry Park, with the Expos defeating the St. Louis Cardinals 8-7. And Jerry Park, if I know Alan will remember, and I sure know that Jim won't. Jerry Park was the home of the Montreal Expos and in the early 70s. And behind right field, there was a swimming pool.
Yes, there was.
And Willie Stargell, on a regular basis, used to hit balls over the right field fence and into the pool. Wow. That was the first time a Pirates batter put one in the drink. But then I go back to a night on April the 14th in 2014. And I do remember this night because we were busy filming our show at SIPS, Sports Lounge, a Monday night in Dormont. And the Pirates were playing the Cincinnati Reds. And the game was raining on and off. The thing you might remember was Neil Walker and Gabby Sanchez hit back-to-back homers in that game twice. And the game was rained out, and but when the game was finally finished, the Reds and the Pirates combined for 10 home runs. The Pirates had 3 sets of back-to-back homers, only the third time that's happened in Major League history. The National League Central rivals completed the game the next day. Andrew McCutchen doubled and came around on Russell Martin's single in the 7th inning, giving the Pirates an 8-7 win. But that took me back to our good times that we had at SIP Sports.
Yeah, definitely.
And, of course, Jim was riveted to the TV. Okay, the next thing here. The first Native American to play in the majors actually played for our Pittsburgh Pirates. Pitcher Chief Yellowhorse made his big league debut for the Pirates on April the 15th, 1921. And it is said that he is believed to be the first Native American to play in the major leagues. We'll follow that with April 15th, which is the day that everybody knows that Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, the first black player to play in the major leagues. We started for the Brooklyn Dodgers, And the interesting piece of trivia about this, ask anybody what position he played that game. And very few people know that he started at first base.
Yeah, I've seen it, but I didn't.
Easiest place to play in the league.
Yeah, no, ask Pedro. Okay, 1954, and I found this interesting because I didn't know that back at the turn of the century there was a baseball team in Baltimore, but there was. Big League Baseball returned to Baltimore after 51 years on April 15th, 1954, at Memorial Stadium. The former St. Louis Browns, who are now the Baltimore Orioles. So that was a former franchise that moved. April the 15th, 1958. Both transplanted from New York. The San Francisco Giants hosted the Los Angeles Dodgers in the first Major League game ever played on the West Coast. That was back in 1958. And the longest game in history of professional baseball. Now, I did not say Major League Baseball. Yeah, I said professional baseball. In an International League night game, the Rochester Red Wings and the Pawtucket Red Sox played to a 2-2 tie through 32 innings. The game was completed later in the season. The game was suspended at 4:07 a.m. The game was completed later in the season with Pawtucket scoring the winning run in the 33rd inning of the longest game in professional baseball history.
That's amazing.
That's 3.5 games there, gentlemen. 1962, the very first professional baseball game played in Texas in the major leagues. The Houston Colt 45s played in Texas, and they beat the Chicago Cubs.
That was really their
11
name?
to 1. Yeah. Yes, it was. They became the Houston Astros.
Yeah. Before the Astrodome, too, Smoking Jim.
Two more, and I'll wrap up my baseball trivia. Tommy Agee of the New York Mets in 1969 hit the longest home run ever in Shea Stadium, and it was in the left field. He hit it into the upper deck. Okay. Now I bring that year up because 1969 was one magical year in baseball because the Mets were the lovable losers. Casey Stengel, managed them their first 2 years, and they lost 100-plus games. In 1969, nobody expected the Mets to do anything, and they shocked the world, beat the Baltimore Orioles in the 1969 World Series.
Why didn't people expect them to be good? They were great pitching.
Well, they had a very young pitching staff. They had two rookies in Jerry Koosman and Nolan Ryan. Tom Seaver was only in the second year of his career. They were promising young pitchers. They hadn't yet proven anything. They weren't the pitchers that they would become in the 70s. They were just at the beginning of their career. Then the longest home sellout streak in major professional sports ended at 820 games. That was for the Boston Red Sox. The official attendance for the night game against the Orioles was 30,862. That happened on April the 10th, 2014.
Wow. How was the weather that night?
Well, it's New England. You could just figure.
Might have been chilly.
One of the things that Alan was talking about going to the games this weekend. Well, Saturday night I was able to go to my very first Pirate game this year without long underwear and Under Armour on and a hat on my head. It was actually warm enough to sit there in a short sleeve shirt.
In your trivia, does it say how many Native Americans did play in the Major League Baseball? Or was that the only one?
No, well, that I was talking firsts. It didn't say how. I never looked any further than that. I was looking at firsts, Jim.
Smoking Jim. Others did play, and then if you would have read that book about the Negro Leagues,
I read 17 pages.
I know you did, but you didn't get to the point where some of the black men were saying they were Indians to play baseball. Wow. Until they got found out that they weren't Indians.
So we're going to
like you can tell about everything.
We're gonna touch on the NHL playoffs, and the Penguins are getting ready to drop the puck. Matt Murray is in the net for the Penguins tonight, and Ryan McDonough will be playing for the Red Wings this evening. Two major players that were injured. Zadkov is put on the bench. Marc-Andre Fleury has not been cleared from his concussion, but Matt Murray seems to have been. So. We'll see what happens when the puck drops here shortly. But a couple of things about the NHL playoffs. 16 of the 30 teams make the playoffs. And, it's like, well, who really doesn't? Well, there's an interesting statistic that the Detroit Red Wings this year continued their streak of 24 consecutive seasons of making the playoffs. They were on the verge of not making the playoffs, but the way things played out in the last game of the season, they got into the playoffs 24 years in a row making the playoffs. That is an amazing streak. And that gets me to the longest droughts, the active droughts for the playoffs in the NHL. And one of the more storied franchises, one that became famous because of a certain number,
Rescue.
99. The Edmonton Oilers are leading the
best
pack.
ever.
10 seasons since they've made the NHL playoffs. The Carolina Hurricanes, it's been 7 seasons. Buffalo Sabres, it's been 5, and then they go down, subsequently there. But, you think about the teams that have won Stanley Cups, and out of the 30 teams, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 teams out of the 30 that have never won the Stanley Cup.
That's amazing in itself.
The Penguins have won 3 in their history. They've been to 4 cups, but they only won 3. And there's somewhere else I was going with this.
With who's won more than one, or?
No. Here's the interesting thing about this year's playoffs. The game of hockey was invented in Canada. It's played predominantly by Canadians. The NHL was basically started in Canada. Yeah. And this is one of the very few seasons, and I do believe it's probably been 17 years since this has happened. None of the Canadian teams made the playoffs this year. Not a single one of them. Yeah. It's all American teams, which I know is going to make the Canadians a little bit testy.
Well, most of the American teams got Canadian players that are stars on them.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the thing. But the Canadian teams,
very good point, Smoking Jim.
The Canadians, the Maple Leafs, the Canucks. You got the Oilers. You got the Calgary Flames. You've got all these teams that they're supposed to own hockey. That would be like the United States men's basketball team losing to Russia, or losing to anybody in basketball for that matter. I mean, this was our game. But that's what I got for you this week on trivia.
Nice closing there.
Got some interesting stuff to talk about. My friend Jim, I did some research on the draft.
My man.
And I think we'll have
round
Jim's
1
brain
coming up shortly.
And I'm going to be picking my friend Jim's brain and see what he thinks about some of these people that are supposed to be in the Steelers' gun sights, so to speak.
Well, good luck on the picking the brain part. I'll tell you that. I wish you the best of luck. And no luck involved on this. You got to get Olive Oil's Pizzeria. We just had a great pizza with pepperoni, bacon, and sausage. Just fantastic. The Italian hoagie is always wonderful. We call 412-831-1900. I know the Penguins have to be playing. We didn't hear any results yet, but they were supposed to start at 7, probably start at 7:15. So we may be getting an update right now. If Chip doesn't have one, I'm sure my man Devin Shea, who's running everything. Murray is looking good so far, quote unquote, of Devin Shea. That's what we want to hear, because he got his mask ripped off, his head was torn off, and he may have been concussed, but we never heard that. So I'm glad he's in the net looking well. We also have another promotion or two here. I know Devin can't pull up too much on this, but this is Golden Gloves. There's a Hall of Fame dinner, and there's Golden Gloves boxing on the 23rd. That's this Saturday at the Royal Place, so we'll be back there filming that. Smoking Jim and I are honored to do the duties there. We can't wait. A lot of great fighters, great coaches, trainers, families, you name it there. So we appreciate it. Now, again, for all you groups that are out there that maybe you have something in Bethel Park that you'd like to get funded, that you're helping the kids, there's grant money available. This is definitely, out there, the Bethel Park Community Foundation. I am a member on there, so I'd like to promote this each time, that you can contact us. You can go to www.bpcf.org for information. Find out how your group can get at least $100 up to $5,000, depending on what you're actually doing. So check that out. Thank you again for listening. Now, let's see what else. I thought I had something else. Yes, we always put our Stay Joey Strong out there.
Yes, sir.
For an 8-year-old boy like Joey to not make his 9th birthday because they said he had DIPG, brain cancer. His family suffers that all the time. I was going out to get my mail today, and I heard somebody beeping at me. I don't always look and think they're beeping at me, but there is a gentleman named David Fabus, whose son is Joey, and we pray for him all the time. He said, whenever I go past your house, I beep. So I waved to him this time because I saw him. But stay Joey strong. We'll do that at the end. You know, I appreciate that. I have a little conversation about On Location. Oh, wait, before I do that, we have our last promo here. This is May 6th, Designer Bag Bingo. You got all these great purses, and it's only $25. Starts at 7 o'clock. They got door prizes. You get 10 cards right off the bat, 1 door prize ticket. There's food there, 50-50 raffles. We got a lot of great baskets there. Some are going to be even worth hundreds of dollars, just like the purses. So come on out May 6th, 7 o'clock. $25. You can go to EV Hardware, see Handy Andy, pick up a ticket. Bethel Park Library, talk to Christine and Elaine, or come see Dave Cable right here in the Municipal Building in BPTV. Now On Location, we'll be heading back to Atria's PNC Park. We've got a lot of great guests coming there, so don't miss the show. Smoking Jim was early. We started at 6:30 now. I want to tell you, he made it with no problem. And it was great to have him there. We'll be back. They got, of course, the Talking Machine Big Mouth Burger. They got his round mound of nachos, hot pot roast nachos that are just unbelievable. Only $6 if you mention Jim's name. And other specials, small bites, drink specials. So come on out. We've got a great show planned. A lot of guests coming there from all walks of life. You know, we have an eclectic bunch of guests. Don't miss these people this week on Monday. See you at 6:30. Now we got to start. Thank you. We got to go right to the Steeler action since these guys are studying up. Smoking Jim lives and breathes this. 366 days this year. It's leap year. So it's an extra day.
I forgot about that.
And he usually only works 3 days. I heard it's only 2 in honor of leap year. He's going to skip another day. So it'll be 2 days of work. Chip, I know you've been studying. I'm going to let you too. Ding, ding.
Well, you know, I think everybody realizes it, and you know, it's commonly known the Steelers need to go defense in the draft. I mean, that goes without saying. The general consensus is we need to go cornerback. You know, and was the 25th pick in the draft. The people that the Steelers may desire may not be available. That, you know, Jim's got a couple of sleepers that could be picks. But I did some research today and looked into some of the people that the Steelers have interest in, and they want to, you know, and everything is going to depend on how things fall. But here's a couple of people that the Steelers are potentially looking for, depending on who's available in the first round. Sheldon Rankins, a defensive lineman out of Louisville. And the other one is...
You're pumping me up. Did you say a lineman? That's just what I wanted.
That's it. That you did call that.
That's what I want. Thank you, Chip. I'm studying up.
Eli Apple, which is a defensive back from Ohio State. Okay. Now, you know, these players have been ranked as high as the 12th to 14th best in the draft by some draft. So what are your thoughts about either of those players?
Well, Eli Apple's not the apple of my eye. A little overrated. He's a young guy coming out a little bit early. He was protected playing in Ohio State's great defense. They're probably going to have more defensive players get drafted this year than any other team, even Alabama.
Really?
And, yeah. Wow. And I would stay away from the kid from Louisville, too.
Okay. Now, they said now there's a couple of others that either of those aren't available. One of them, William Jackson III, a defensive lineman out of Baylor.
Well, oh, okay. You're talking about lineman. I thought you meant Jackson, the defensive back cornerback.
Okay. Well, and then Andrew Billings. What are your thoughts about him?
Well, first of all, if the Steelers take any of your top 4. Now, they love the kid Jackson from Baylor. Mm-hmm. They do love him.
Joe Green took him out to dinner.
Wow.
Wow. Why couldn't Smoking Jim get invited?
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, they love the kid. Other than Al Levine, the Talking Machine, and he could be right. His predictions have come true. I would Art Rooney II, who is the acting team owner, he wants a cornerback in the first round.
Right.
I don't believe the Steelers have taken a cornerback in the first round since Chad Scott out of Maryland.
Right.
In 1995. So I really believe that even though Joe Green has gotten a steak dinner in Baylor, I believe there's a problem if the Pittsburgh Steelers don't take a cornerback.
We can hear you, Devin.
Well, then there was 4 other players here that they have mentioned that the Steelers might have any interest in. A couple of them players from Virginia Tech.
Fuller.
Carl Joseph, Kendall Fuller.
Fuller's a good one. Injured, came off an injury this year.
What
but
kind of
pedigree.
injury?
He had a knee injury, shortened the season, but his pedigree is great. His brothers were all good. They played in the NFL. He's a smart guy. He would be a safe choice at cornerback, about 5'11", 6 foot, 200 pounds.
Then my last 2 I got here, Ashawn Robinson out of Alabama. I believe he's another defensive lineman. Is that correct? And Noah Spence out of Eastern Kentucky.
Love Noah Spence, a tweener. Now, Noah Spence, actually, here's a little bit. I'm glad you brought that up. That's ingenious, Chip, that you brought that up. I watched Noah Spence play in high school. He played for Bishop McDevitt High School, and they played Montour in the semifinals of the states.
Really?
And he comes out in pregame warm-ups. I didn't know who he was. I'm up watching Montour play. And he comes out, this is in Altoona, he comes out in pregame warm-ups with his uniform on, and he got his jersey, no shoulder pads, but he got his jersey tied up. And I looked and I told everybody that boy's going to be a problem for him. And they could not, he single-handedly destroyed Montour, and I said then he was going to the NFL. And he dominated at Ohio State before he learned ecstasy. That's his drug of choice.
That's not good.
But he's a tweener. He's a defensive end.
Got a little baggage with him, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think the Steelers would take. I think that. I mean, the Steelers never shied away from guys that like. but this is a guy that got Greg Lloyd mentality.
Perfect.
You
for
know,
a defensive player.
The coach thought so highly. I've never seen a coach. Now, Urban Meyer, this is how highly he thought of him. Not only did he kick Noah Spence off the team, but he says, I'll get you a scholarship somewhere else. So he was near and dear to his heart when they do something like that. But he's in my rankings, he's 6'2", 255 pounds, too small to play defensive end. Maybe I got him clocked at a 4'8", 40, so maybe not fast enough to play outside linebacker, right outside linebacker. But he is the second or third best pass rusher that I have in this particular draft. But he would have to play left outside linebacker probably in the Steelers scheme, and they already have Bud Dupree over there.
Right.
But I do love Noah Spence because I've seen him play in high school. He destroyed Montour, and anytime you do something like that, I'm a fan.
So of the 8 players that I mentioned, you got 3 defensive backs, you got 5 defensive linemen. Now everything always, if you know anything about doing the draft, it's where things fall. And I understand that even Cleveland's looking to trade out of the second pick, and somebody else is looking to trade out of the third pick or trade down. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe there's some things could happen here in the next week. Just because we're slated for number 25 right now doesn't necessarily mean that's where we have to draft.
Good point.
So many people are willing to trade.
Great research, Chip.
Chip, I got an announcement. Devin Shea just gave me an update after 2 bad calls by the ref. The Rangers scored a goal. Hold it.
Wow.
Play was ruled no goal. Player was offside. Devin Shea was right. I got the quickest update on top of my announcement. Thanks, Devin Shea. Don't turn that down. We got 19 minutes to go here.
Oh, see, they said they said it was assisted by Matt Zuccarella and Chris Kreider, but they waved it off. Good news.
Just like the other night. Well, we'll talk Penguins in a minute or so. Let's do Steelers with Smoking Jim.
So what are
your choices? What do you say about that?
Well, like I said, out of all those choices, hopefully the Steelers won't take any of those guys in the first round. But if I had to pick out of all those guys, if I was picking for the Pittsburgh Steelers and that was my list, I would take Fuller from Virginia Tech. That's a safe pick. And, I think he could play in the NFL. I think that he'll rehab that knee. And he's just as good as any of his brothers, and they all did well in the National Football League. And Coach Tomlin, Newsport News Virginia guy. Mm-hmm. Fuller's from that same stomping ground. So
I've never heard you mention Tomlin in a good light like this since we've been on the show.
He's getting better.
Is he really?
Well, I figured it was worth getting some conversation going about the Steelers. You got the draft next Thursday night. Yeah. Jim will be out of touch with everybody. He'll have a steak in one hand,
I'll be texting.
lobster tail in the other one.
No lobster. It's too much of a battle.
Yeah, I had lobster one time in my life, and Gabby got some, and I didn't know what I was eating, bro.
I'm telling
you
what,
with your steak.
I seen the bill.
When you marry a woman from Maine, you learn to love lobster. Trust me.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
I'll take
He never
one.
listens to you. He talks about that all the time.
I'll take a woman from Maine.
I got one, and I ain't giving her up.
Well, sorry for the little break and the diversion from Steeler talk. Smoking Jim's holding all his picks close to the vest. I got to at least ask him a question or two about that. Who is your top pick for the Steelers?
My top pick, if I had to...
Here's my question to you.
Yes, sir.
You get the pick from who's the best on your list.
On my list?
I don't care how you're intimidated by the Roonies and all that other stuff.
And take into account who's going to be available. Say with the 25th pick. Now, that all changes if we move up.
Well, if I had the 25th pick overall, I would trade out of that pick and move down and get 2 picks in the second round and take Sean Davis. Because my 2 top defensive players is Miles Killebrew from Southern Utah.
That's what I wanted out. We talked previously, so I want that out now.
And Sean Davis from Maryland. It's my top corner. And I have not seen them in the first 2 rounds of anybody's mock draft. And I kind of looked out there and was shocked that nobody's seen. Then again, my number 1 rated quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear.
Is not even going to get drafted.
Mention
he has
his
to go
name.
to Seattle. Vernon Davis from Oregon. I graded him equally, except for in one area, to Russell Wilson. Same size, same ability, same everything. And don't forget, I had Russell Wilson as the number 1 quarterback in the super quarterback draft over Andrew Luck, and I predicted in that draft that RG3 would be a bust.
You did that.
And I think that Russell Wilson's making me look good right now. And Vernon Davis is every bit as good as Russell Wilson, and no NFL team will draft him.
So you're telling me that RG3 isn't the latest savior of the Cleveland Browns? He's going to be number, 26?
Well,
the 26th quarterback since 1999.
And Chip made a great point that Cleveland's thinking about trading out of that pick, and are they pinning their hopes on RG3, the guy that could lead Silent Prayer?
Well, if there's anything that Cleveland can do better, this is what I thought this was funny the other night. They released the NFL schedules the other night, 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. At 8:01, the Cleveland Browns were already mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah. And that's traditional. Chip, that's actually traditional.
What do you guys think about the Steelers playing on all holidays? I actually love it. They're a piece of meat, so play.
Well,
for my entertainment, I want to see football.
It doesn't bother me a bit because you know what? If you're going to get paid that kind of money, I tell you when to work and when not to work, and if you don't like it, go find another job that pays as much.
Smoking Jim, here's my point before you bring up Harrison, because I know you're buddies. So my point is they all get paid to work, as Chip is saying. Other teams have played on the holidays. Why are we different? It's our turn. So you just take it and go play.
I feel sad for some of them that can't get up with their kids on Christmas Day. But I want to see football on Christmas, so I got over that quick.
You're the guy that says you're the emperor in the Coliseum.
That's it.
But when they can secure their child's future, okay, and for
Some
generations
don't believe in Santa Claus.
and generations to come, there's a trade-off.
Just leave the presents with Santa's name on it. You'll be fine.
That's
Mama can read it to him.
That's it.
No, I don't have a problem with it, nor should anybody else. Why would you? That's how the schedules are.
I guess I'm probably the only person in America that believes that even when your wife goes in labor, you out there playing a game. And I'm the only one. I mean, teams allow guys to go and watch the birth of their kids. Me, I want to see you out there playing.
And I guess that's why you're sitting with us on Pittsburgh Sportsline. And we're proud to have you here. You can voice your opinions. So if we don't agree with you, it's fine.
They can show the delivery on the Jumbotron. Yeah, you got a boy.
I don't know about that, Smith and Jim. People might get offended there. I got another update. Devin Shea just said that they held off a 4-minute penalty by the Rangers. So with no further ado, forget the Steelers right now.
My favorite team is Philly. I love the
Well, that's okay, because you're not a hockey fan, but we appreciate that. We're going right into the Penguins right now. I'm hoping I want to win today. I think they got to come out strong. They hear there's penalties against them. They had a goal scored on them that they took away. I think we need some offense. What are they doing shooting the puck? Because they've been great at it when they've done it.
Well, here's what I think is, the Penguins came out and they played a decent first game. They didn't set the world on fire, but they pulled out a win with Zatkoff as their backup goalie. Basically stealing a win. Stealing a win for them. They got taken to task by the Rangers in Game 2, and let's not count out the Rangers. They were in the finals 2 years ago. They were in the conference finals last year. But I think one of the biggest strong points for the Rangers was they did not lose their franchise goaltender to an eye injury in the first game. He was able to come and play the second game. It came up big for them. Now, I think one of the things that is hurting the Penguins, and now that there is the concussion protocol,
right?
I think the Penguins need Marc-Andre Fleury if they're going to go deep in these playoffs. They need him to play. Matt Murray was fine. He's coming back from a concussion, and his concussion was sustained in the last game of the season when Mike Sullivan admitted he made a mistake by starting him against the Flyers, which the Flyers were going to try to take out somebody on the Penguins team. They sat Crosby. Because they didn't want to get them hurt, because that's just something the Flyers have been known to do.
For 40 years.
So
and that's why Smoking Jim likes them.
You've got that going on with the Penguins. The doubt about the goaltending. Then you've had people that have been out for 6 weeks. You've got Evgeny Malkin, you've got Ole Mata. Yeah. You've got a team that, while they were out, performed better than any team in the NHL and had great chemistry together. Now, all of a sudden, you're taking people out that were producing and that got comfortable with working with other line mates, and you're plugging in superstars that, I'm sorry, it just takes time to get up to game speed. And can you afford to do that in the playoffs? I mean, Evgeny Malkin, no doubt, he's probably one of the top 10 players in the league, maybe in the world. Yeah. But he hasn't played in 6 weeks, and
here's what
They didn't seem like they knew what they wanted to do with them.
That's what it looked like to me. But I did notice, instead of him going east to west, which he does a lot of the time, if you notice the game, he was going north to south. So that's a difference to him. And traditionally, with Malkin, his second game back is when he starts scoring a goal or feeding people a lot better. And I noticed there was a little hesitant there, and maybe he's not in the game speed shape, because that means something. But this game, I know when I get home to watch it, he's going to go out there. I predicted a goal the last time I did this. He will get a goal tonight.
Aaron, you know what? Malkin. Maybe, Devin, you can text to Alan the answer to this. Is Ole Mata playing? Because the way he performed on Saturday, I wouldn't be too surprised if he was a healthy scratch.
That's a disappointment, I'll tell you that much, because he's usually come back where he's ready to roll instantly.
Right.
Sort of like Letang.
But the defense had been playing, well as a unit, and then once again, you're taking away somebody that was performing and plugging in somebody that was injured.
They had a couple breakdowns that I think Fleury would have stopped. Okay, yes, he is.
Okay, good.
Mata's playing there, so Ollie, good luck to you. We only got 9 minutes left, so I'm getting excited to get home and watch some hockey.
And at the end of the day, we pull this win off in New York. I think we're in a good place. I think we definitely need to steal one of these games in New York. I'd hate to see us go down 3-1 and coming back to Pittsburgh. If we come back tied 2-2, I think we'd be in a pretty good place, and hopefully Marc-Andre will be available later in the series.
And with Marc-Andre getting hurt like he did, he had 2 concussions in a short period of time. Well, and with the protocols that they have, he's been practicing, which I was optimistic, but when you can't pass the protocol,
well,
you're in trouble.
And I mean, and people used to play with concussions in the past, but it's a different.
We're beyond it.
It's a different world that we live in now. Football, hockey, even baseball and basketball are the same way.
All the sports, they've gone to it. You got more supervision with doctors and other people that aren't connected with the teams, which makes a difference on that.
So and just to touch on Jim's comment from last week, Golden State Warriors set the single season best regular season record in NBA history. And as soon as they raise that trophy here in June, I will then call them the greatest team ever. But they're up 2-0 on the Rockets, even though Steph Curry sat out last night's game with an injured ankle. They took an MRI, no structural damage. He's going to be fine. He's questionable for Game 3. So more to pay attention to then.
They did the right thing on that. They did watch him. What was amazing at the end of the season, he had 402 three-pointers. The closest anybody got was about 300. I don't know if anybody had hit 300 before. So that's what's amazing. And you talk about, like Smokin' Jim has a chip on his shoulder if you tell him he can't do something. And just the disrespect that the Golden State Warriors think that they were given has taken them to another level. I was one of the detractors last week about Smokin' Jim because I like the team. I've watched a lot of their games. When you start out a season 24-0, and I want to know what's going on. So I did watch them. And in honor to my dad, I watch a lot more games at the NBA. I always watch the playoffs. And when Steph Curry started out the first game, he had 24 points at the half, and his ankle was shot.
Well,
24 points.
Last night, and probably the first time ever, what's his name? Shaquille O'Neal actually said something that made sense, and what he did was...
And he actually ran to a monitor.
He took James Harden to task for his lack of playing defense last night. And if you had any chance of beating the Warriors, it's with Steph Curry out of the game, and they just refused to play defense and got run out of the gym.
Smokin' Jim? Little Jimmy? What's going on in your mind?
Now, here's the reason why. If Golden State was going to sit on their laurels, they are not going to now. Golden State breaks a record that will never be broken again. Nobody will ever win 73 games or more in the NBA history. Just like the Miami Dolphins record will never be broken. Best team of all time, 72 Dolphins. But the headline everywhere wasn't that. It was Kobe scoring 60. So now that chip is back on their shoulder. Yeah, everywhere was Kobe. I didn't even know Kobe was playing that night.
You bring a great point up.
And and here's the thing. Kobe Bryant in his day was the best player in the NBA. And in his time. His time has passed him, but was that Kobe's last hurrah, or were people standing around watching him so he could throw up 60 on his last game?
I watched the game.
Hey, how hard a defense were they playing?
Well, here, I'll tell you.
I think they were watching. They weren't playing.
No, I don't know. I watched part of the game because I was flipping between watching Curry start out tossing those threes in. I mean, he had like 3 in a row or 4 in a row to start the game. It was awesome. So then a friend of mine said that, Kobe's there playing. It's his last game, and I watched a few minutes. Nothing was really happening. Then I switched back. But and they may have let him go a little bit, but there were guys banging into him.
He put up 50 shots.
Right.
He only scored 60 points. I mean, come on.
Well,
see, 50 shots. Did anybody else on the team get 5?
Well, I found the irony of it is they couldn't get a lead no matter what Kobe was doing until the end.
Well, yeah, because somebody other than him had to score. Pass the ball, dude.
They weren't doing much passing, and that's history. I mean, you give him credit, the 3rd leading scorer in the NBA history.
Yeah. No,
started basketball at 18 years old, played 20 years straight.
The thing I think that showed his testament as how great of a player he was. He won 3 NBA titles with Shaquille O'Neal as a centerpiece. After Shaquille left, they still won 2 championships without the big pivot man. And to me, that's what the measure of his greatness was right there. Because he won back-to-back titles after that.
Very true. But we touched on NBA where we don't normally. Would somebody want an NBA team in Pittsburgh? Because there's excitement about the NBA.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think if it were an NBA, I'm starting to change a little bit, that if it was an NBA franchise, we might have the fans come out.
I'd like to see I personally don't see the economy of the Pittsburgh area supporting a fourth professional sports franchise. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I'm
agree with L. Levine, the Talk Machine, and Jessica Lee.
Ah, there you go. She's the one that is an attorney, told us that if you had an NBA franchise instead of ABA and whatever else you had here, that now you have big money backing it, and you got people that want to see the NBA.
So, I know we're going to get to a couple of minutes of Pirate talk here, but what do you think about the idea of them putting advertisements on the jerseys of the NBA players?
I'm not for NASCAR. I'm not for NASCAR.
Can you imagine, the Los Angeles Lakers down here and Eat at Joe's up here on the
Why not? Anything to make money.
No, I'm not for that. Have them tattooed
on. How about
on
the Xfinity Steelers?
I think they should just tattoo them. They love the tats. Put them on. Let's go to Bucko talk, because we're at 7-6.
7-6, and I tell you what, you're watching. Now, I got to give some credit to Jim here. Jim likes to push my buttons, and yes, the performance of the Pirates pitching staff last week was mediocre at best. Okay, and
that's how it was.
And the Pirates do have a much better pitching staff than their performance was last week. Their performance last week, it speaks for itself. But, when you got the good pitching on Saturday and Sunday, you saw the kind of team that the Pirates are going to play. Now, what has happened with the changes they have made with the departure of Pedro Alvarez and Neil Walker? You have a much stronger right side of the infield defensively. And the way this team will win more games by hitting less home runs is playing better defense. And they've increased their on-base percentage. They get more runners on base. They're going to score more runs.
You're talking above his head. For all you folks out there, more people on base gives you more opportunities to score runs. So sure, we don't have a 25, 30, home run guy at this point in time. But we got other people that are coming up.
The surprise of the season is John Jaso over at first base. Not only is he playing defensively as one of the top first basemen in the league, he's getting on base like a maniac. And the two left-handed bats that we have in our lineup, Jaso and Gregory Polanco, are doing an amazing job at getting on base. And I think Gregory Polanco is on the precipice of becoming a superstar in Major League Baseball.
You're right.
Well, you have to age a little bit, Smoking Jim. You have to get what's called experience playing games.
The patience that he's showing at the plate, and with his at-bats, he leads the league in walks.
Right.
And when he hits the ball, he's hitting it hard. What will happen is he continues with the approach that he's got. The balls are going to fly out of the stadium because he's hitting them solid. I've seen him bang them off the walls. And, you get a little elevation on that, man. They're in the seats.
And once we get to May, Kutch will start his MVP tear. He's doing not too bad.
Tyon and Glasnow are doing well in AAA.
Exactly.
And Young Ho Gong started his rehab in Indianapolis last night. Things look promising for him.
That's our basic information. Got about 30 seconds left. Smoking Jim, any final word here or anything?
Can't wait for boxing on Saturday.
And where's it going to be?
It's going to be at the Royal Place.
88 and 51.
Yeah.
Smoking Jim knows the address now. Chip, any final word here?
Nope. I got a 3-game series against the Padres starting tonight.
Well, I want to thank everybody. Thanks, Devin Shea, for controlling this whole operation, making us first class. Dave Cable, Bethel Park, we appreciate it. And will you all please stay Joey strong.